Once I finish talking, I'm gonna give you the next one, right? Damn. What's up? Huh? What's up? Good. Nice. Yo, CCRI Radio, we have our first special guest here. We have Ross from Stone Nobles.
You were just listening to their song Coyote Express. If you want to hear more, go check them out.
Exactly, man. All right, Ross, I'm gonna put you on the mic, man. We have some questions for you, man. All right,
Let's do it.
here you are.
Okay.
Sorry. Check.
Ross, before we start, I want to say I was listening to some of your songs before we started. I really like Magnetic Woman.
Thank you. I oddly enough, like, so that was the first thing we ever released.
Really?
Yeah, we did it in my drummer's basement through GarageBand.
Hey man, that's the way to do it these days. BandLab, GarageBand.
Yeah.
An independent person.
And I'm always like obviously super critical of myself and our stuff. So like, whenever someone says like, oh, I love Magnetic, I'm like,
And that was your first one on GarageBand.
I'm like, word, okay, nice, all right, we're doing something.
No, I mean, I did not sound like it was sounding on GarageBand. It sounded like I could hear that on the radio. Like,
that's great, man. That's great. I'm glad you guys like it. How you know?
So Ross, first we're gonna get into a little bit on your position in the band and how you got into the music and everything. And so, what instrument do you play for the band right now?
So I call myself the co-front man. I'm originally the front man and lead singer and rhythm guitar player for Stone Nobles. But I always like to say most rock bands are lucky to say they have one good front man. Stone Nobles has two. My lead guitar player, Lance, is also an incredible singer. He's actually the voice that you hear on Coyote Express.
Okay.
But it's really cool because we have two, we have very different voices. We kind of split time,
And so you guys both sing songs.
yes, which is nice because I kind of get a break on stage every now and then. I get to just play some guitar, but for the most part, I'm singing.
Nice. Yeah. That's like you said. That is a great key to a band, and there's more than just one person who's like the lead of it. And
Yeah.
I think that's a cool thing.
Yeah, super lucky to have him. It's cool to be able to have that dynamic.
So that's Lance, you said? Is
Yeah.
The other, so do you want to shout out the other, like the drummer of your band and all that?
Yeah. So it's four dudes. It's me, and then Lance Steele is the lead guitar player and other co-frontman. Brody Silver, the King of Clubs. He's the drummer of Stone Nobles,
Nice.
and then our bass player, aptly nicknamed Coyote Kaiser.
Coyote Kaiser. I like that.
Oh yeah.
Now, is it one writer for all your songs, or do you guys all kind of work together on that?
It's kind of it's honestly a pretty collaborative process. Like we've managed to make our creative process pretty it comes pretty naturally now, where I do a lot of writing, Lance does a lot of writing. Either I have half a song that needs to get filled out, he has half a song that needs to get filled out, or either of us will write an entire thing that's missing one or two things that Kaiser or Brody will fill in the blanks on. And then as far as instrumentation and just writing nuance with riffage and leads or whatever, it kind of falls into place naturally where we all have something to contribute to it, even if one person kind of capitally wrote most of a song. We're all kind of putting our heads into it.
No, I think that's really cool for you guys because like you guys are able to jump off each other's ideas and like know each other so well that you're able to like know what this person is missing. So like if Lance writes a whole song, you're like Lance so well that you can be like, Lance, this is what you need in this song, and like you guys can agree like it's an amazing like work of art that you guys just made.
Yeah.
And I think that's like one of the really cool things about like your band too. Like, do you mind like telling like us and the viewers like how you guys came together? Like, what made you start Stone Nobles?
Yeah. So, I actually hadn't touched a guitar my entire life until 2018. It was because I had failed out of. I was a URI. I failed out of URI, and I actually came to CCRI, oddly enough, for a semester. And during that semester is when I finally decided, well, you know what, I'm finally going to pick up the guitar. And everyone was telling me, oh, you're not gonna be good for a long time. You have to really work at it. It's gonna take you forever to get good at it.
But you got it naturally.
But I was kind of just like, screw you, I'll get good in a month, you know. So I just played all the time. And then after about a year or so, I was like, you know what, I want to start playing with people. And I was in a fraternity in college. Eventually, I got back into URI, and I was in a fraternity, and there was this like big pageant thing for our Greek week where like one representative from each fraternity comes out and provide, you know, it's like a talent show or whatever. And I was like, ooh, now I can play guitar, I can sing. Let me try to get some guys together that I know from my hometown who play music. I know, you know, this kid Brody. I know he plays in a band with this other dude Lance. So you know, let me hit these guys up. Oddly enough, Brody ended up hitting up other people to start this band, and we started jamming. I ended up getting voted out of the spot to perform at that talent show, and then I had to break that to the guys. And then at practice that day, Brody was like, "Oh, okay, so you want to just keep playing?
Just stick with it."
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, and that's when we started writing Magnetic Woman. And then Lance hadn't been in the band at that point. We were kind of rifling through a lot of like, we had a pretty big revolving door of band members, but after a little while, I was like begging Brody, because I'd seen their other band, Blind Rooster, play and like at like hockey parties and in basements and stuff, and I was like, this guy's a badass, man. Like I want him in my band. And eventually, I just started hitting him up, and then we got him in.
So before the formation of the band, you weren't particularly close with any of these guys.
So I grew up with Brody. We were both from Lincoln. He ended up going to LaSalle though, and I went to Lincoln High. So I never really saw him much. And then we had this other guy who was our old bassist, who was also from my hometown.
Okay.
Lance, I didn't meet until I was really hanging out with Brody, like playing music with him, because I was also hanging out with the Blind, like watching the Blind Rooster shows and like just, you know, like hitting them up every now and then. And then we actually ended up firing our old bassist a couple of years ago, and we did the whole like professional hunt with like interviews and Zoom meetings and auditions, and which is where we found Kaiser.
Kaiser.
Yeah, and he fit like a glove. Like he came in and was just so efficient, and he fit the bill with his look, and he's a really hard worker, and he's a great dude. So it kind of we got him in 2023, but it's just been all uphill from there. You know, it's been great.
Nice. Yeah, I mean that's a great, like you guys all came together for the music. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a you know, you try to never look at it as a thing like, oh man, we gotta make it. You know, we gotta write this song and make it. Like, you know, you kind of just treat it like you show up on Saturday morning and you get to do your favorite thing in the world with your friends.
I think that's a great mentality, because I mean, I know a lot of people that make music, including myself, and we just make songs that are we think will get hits, but you're doing it you're just having fun, and if something happens with it, something happens with it.
Yeah, and I don't think there's really necessarily anything wrong with like wanting to quote unquote make it. Like, of course, like we all have the like kind of a naked desire to, you know, play in front of the stadiums that are shouting your lyrics back at you.
Right.
Of course, that's what we're all, you know, to some degree is what we're all chasing, you know, depending on who you ask. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, as long as you're doing it for you, like that's what makes it so great. And you know, you're writing for yourself, and you're writing for your guys, and like how you guys know that you'll enjoy it.
Right. So would you say your lyrics, like I know you said the lyrics are all combinations of creativity from everybody in the group, but would you say they're somewhat true stories or somewhat reflections of how you guys are feeling in that moment?
Yeah, so what's kind of interesting about me and Lance's writing processes is that I tend to write from a little bit more of a literal standpoint, where I'll, you know, something will happen to me, and then I'll feel a need to write a bunch of stuff about it. And then what I'll do is I'll look at the very like kind of rudimentary bare bones stuff that I wrote and be like, okay, now how can I convolute this and make it flow and make it sound cool? Now it's still going to be this very like boots on the ground kind of story where you can kind of hear after a little while like where I'm coming from. Where with Lance, I always tell people this, Lance is the greatest songwriter in the world that nobody knows about yet. He, like, cause
sadly, that's a lot of musicians and artists are like that. I feel like.
yeah, which is why I'm like,
No, I was gonna say, and then you have people like Drake and all these people who are getting
Use AI to
using
write
AI
songs,
to
yeah.
write songs, and they're famous, getting millions of dollars. When you have people like Ross and Lance being able to do this, like, I mean, not to use the cliche, but like in their like mother's garage or like in their own place, doing music that they have like a story to write. Like you just said, like you gather your story and then you make it into a song that you love and appreciate, and you want people to. Like you want to share your story pretty much.
Right, and there's something magical about making music in the garage or in your friend's little bootleg studio or anything like that, and because that's real. That's
totally.
yeah.
Well, what's cool about Lance's writing is that he can sit there, and he's done it before with me in the room, where he'll sit there and we'll have this idea that we're kind of like chewing on for a minute, and he'll just like drop into silence for like 15 minutes, and he'll just write something, and he'll just start writing, and you'll try to like interject an idea, and he'll go, shut up, hold on, just shut up, give me a second.
And that's like a scene of genius there.
Oh, right, and he'll sit there, and then he'll fill out this, this sheet of lyrics, and you read it, and it's this like fabricated story that came from absolutely nowhere, but is like one of the catchiest choruses you've ever heard, and like he's already built an entire universe around a comic book of an album that attaches to.
There's some incredibly creative people.
He's got a serious knack, and I think the mixture of our two writing styles has become really, really cool.
Yeah, so moving on a little bit to like, you were talking about your performances and everything at the college parties and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
What would your advice be to people who make music and they make good music, they want to start getting into performing and being on stages and getting more fan base?
One word, man, play.
Yeah.
Just play. Like, because we never had, we had played a couple of parties with Stone Nobles, but I had mainly seen a lot of like Lance doing that with Blind Rooster, Lance and Brody, where he would just have, because Lance was a hockey player, so he would just have a hockey party at his house, and the whole team and all of their friends and all of their, the girls, whatever, would all show up, and like you're just gonna watch a rock and roll show tonight, and it's gonna be rowdy, it's gonna be a good time, and it kind of gained this like little bit of underground notoriety, right? And as far as like getting onto stages and playing at venues and stuff, start hitting up small venues. Just start shooting out emails and be straightforward and honest. You don't need a big 10-paragraph essay email. It's just like, hey, we're this band. We're starting out. We've got some original music. Maybe we got some covers too. But we're just looking to see if you guys have some availability. And we'd love to play. We're not asking for much money. That's another thing too. Is that right at first you probably don't want to be asking for very much money.
Yeah, you want to care more about the recognition than you do.
Yeah, just going out and playing. Yeah, I think once you have a little bit more of an established following, then you can kind of start demanding a little bit more, or like kind of negotiating. Eventually too, when you start working with like booking agents or like management and whatnot, then that's when that changes.
So does Stone Nobles have like a management team?
No, we do basically everything ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is the coolest place you've performed at, like in Rhode Island or anywhere?
The coolest places we performed at, we played at the Palladium in Worcester, which is like this, like, I don't know if you guys have ever been to the Palladium, but it's it's a really awesome, like, famously metal venue. Sits about 2,000, and they have like an upstairs stage that fits about 500. And it was just a big stage. We like packed the place up. It was a grand old time, just like being able to play on a bigger stage like that, and kind of be the focal point. Everybody's buying merch, and everyone wants you to sign their T-shirts and whatever.
That's
it's like,
awesome.
Yeah, it's a really cool fit. We've done that. Like we've played in Nashville before. at a really cool like small venue out there. We played in Detroit. This place called the Token Lounge.
So you guys travel for performances.
Yeah, we're not like touring or anything, but like I call them away games. Like whenever we have an away game, like we'll plan something ahead of time, you know, and find a way to get out there, find a place to stay, and then just do everything we can to give the best show.
That's awesome. So what, you contact these people that run the stadiums beforehand and then just go out there?
Yeah, a lot of times too, honestly, like we're kind of getting hit up. Like for the Michigan ones, like there was a kid who was one of my TikTok followers. Also, I apologize to my TikTok followers who are like watching, but I'm not reading any of their comments. We just can't see you. I'm sorry, guys. But it was a dude who was one of my TikTok followers, and he hit me up. He's like, "Hey, I'm in this band in Detroit, and we have a bunch of cool venues. Like, would you guys be down to play a couple of shows out here this summer?" We were like, "Yeah, sure.
Yeah, of course. Why not?
No, why not?" And we started looking into these venues, and like, oh, these are like pretty legit, like super cool venues with like light shows, and you know, a bunch of our idols have played here before. So it's like, you know, yeah, why don't we do that? And it's a really just a good experience. But yeah,
that's incredible. I mean, the fact that you guys can go out of Rhode Island, go out of New England, and try to get your music out to more places.
I think that's a really cool thing. But one thing that caught my interest was you guys saying that you guys do all your managerial stuff by yourself, which I think is really cool. Because Ross and I know from firsthand, sometimes a manager does not help things out. I was actually when you were talking about making like a song and everything, I was like, so when's the diss track? Manager Mag coming out. Manager Mag coming out. If you know, you know.
What's the lore with Manager Mag?
Man, this caused a lot of problems that did not need to be caused.
Yeah, it wasn't the best.
Yeah, so like I think that's really cool how there's no like I like how you right from the jump you said you're the co-front man. You didn't say, oh, I'm the front man or Lance is the front man.
Yeah.
You guys agreed that you guys could both be the front man. Like there's no.
And that's unique with some bands.
Exactly.
Especially the big bands.
Yeah. You don't want someone like taking the spotlight or being like, oh, I'm the man. You know, like
Right.
You guys have agreed amongst you that you all are equal.
Well, and let's say you guys get really big too. Like a lot of times that can split up bands. Like, no, I'm the front man. You're just the background. And the fact that you guys have already agreed that there's two front men. I like that.
Yeah, I mean the way we look at it, you know, we all played team sports growing up, you know, and like, you know, like my dad was like one of my coaches, so like I had the best mentor, you know, waking me up every morning. So it's like, and you know, we all have that, and I think it's important to make that kind of a pillar of just being a band in general. That like you should probably put your ego aside, because historically we've seen like ego is a thing that destroys a lot of fantastic
like celebrities, anybody.
Right, yeah, and I think once you do away with that, that's when you can really start making some good stuff, because it's like you're